The Vethkai medic's hands trembled as she handed me the datapad. 17 times, Sergeant Chen. The neural wipe failed 17 times. I stared at the report, not comprehending. Around us, the medical bay hummed with the sterile efficiency of coalition technology, but I couldn't hear any of it. All I could see were the numbers. 17 attempts. 17 rejections. That's not possible, I said. The procedure has a 99.7% success rate. Her brain chemistry has adapted. The medic's translator struggled with the concept. It treats the memory engram as a central biological function. Like breathing. Like heartbeat. Through the observation window, I watched Kira, designation X4471, the Sileth companion I'd been assigned 18 months ago, as a combat stress management resource. She sat motionless in the neural chair, her silver blue skin pale under the harsh lights, her 4 eyes closed. The restraints weren't necessary. She hadn't fought the procedure. Not physically. Her mind had done the fighting for her. The Coalition Command has ordered her termination, the medic continued. A Sileth who cannot be mind-wiped is considered a security risk. The bonding information she carries about you, your unit, your tactics, she's not a security risk. The words came out harder than I intended. She's a person. The medic's secondary eyes blinked, a Vethkai expression of discomfort. Sergeant, I understand human attachment patterns are intense, but you must understand, this was never meant to be permanent. Sileth companions are assigned for combat rotation, then wiped and reassigned. It's how their species has served the Coalition for 3 centuries. I knew the system. I'd thought I understood it too when Command had first brought Kira to my quarters on the Gemirion, a small, delicate creature barely reaching my chest, with luminescent patterns across her skin that shifted with her emotional state. Sileth were empaths, bred for generations to soothe, to calm, to keep soldiers functional between engagements. I'd wanted to refuse her. I'd lost my entire squad on Helix 7, watched them burn in Dominion plasma fire while I crawled through the wreckage with half my body charred. I didn't want comfort. I wanted to be left alone with my ghosts. But Command didn't ask what soldiers wanted. The termination order, I said slowly. When? 2200 hours. I'm sorry, Sergeant. I thought you would want to know. I looked at the chronometer. 4 hours. Kira's eyes opened. All 4 of them, violet and vast, finding me through the glass as if she could sense my presence. Her skin patterns flickered, a complex dance of light I'd learned to read over 18 months. Fear. Resignation. And beneath it all, something that pulsed steady and warm. She wasn't afraid of dying. She was afraid of what her death would do to me. I turned away from the window. I need to make some calls. The bond hadn't formed overnight. In the beginning, I'd barely spoken to her. She'd followed the standard Sileth protocol, staying in my quarters, maintaining a respectful distance, only approaching when my stress hormones spiked beyond acceptable parameters. I'd treated her like furniture. Worse than furniture. At least I acknowledged furniture existed. You don't have to stay in the corner, I told her once, 3 weeks into our assignment, drunk on synthetic whiskey and drowning in memories. You can use the bed, the chair, whatever. She'd tilted her head, her patterns shifting to soft blue confusion. I am where I belong, Sergeant. And where's that? Where you need me to be. I'd laughed, an ugly, broken sound. I don't need you anywhere. I don't need anyone. She hadn't argued. She never argued. She'd simply remained, a quiet presence in the periphery of my shattered existence, asking nothing, demanding nothing, existing with a patience that I found infuriating. Until the nightmares started. I'd wake screaming, reliving the flames, the screams of my squad, Lieutenant Park's face as the plasma melted through his helmet. And she'd be there, not touching me, not speaking, just present. Her patterns glowing soft amber in the darkness, a lighthouse in the storm of my own mind. Go away, I'd snarl at her. She never did. Your fear is not weakness, she told me one night, maybe 2 months in. Your grief is not failure. You carry your dead because you love them. That is not something to cure. Then why are you here? Her patterns had shifted then, something I couldn't read, Something new. Because no one should carry them alone. I found Captain Vasquez in the officers' mess, nursing a cup of cold coffee and reviewing tactical reports. She looked up as I approached, her expression carefully neutral. Chen, I heard about the Sileth. I'm not letting them kill her. That's not your call to make. Captain, sit down. It wasn't a request. I sat. Vasquez rubbed her temples, looking older than her 42 years. I've been in the Coalition Navy for 20 years. I've seen a lot of bonding assignments. Soldiers get attached. It's natural. The Sileth are designed for it. But you need to understand what's happening here, because I don't think you do. She remembers me. That's what's happening. No, doll. Vasquez leaned forward. What's happening is that a Sileth's brain has fundamentally restructured itself around a single human consciousness. 17 failed wipes doesn't mean her memory is stubborn. It means her neural architecture has integrated your presence so deeply that removing it would cause catastrophic brain death. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? The medics ran the scans 6 times. Her mind has literally built itself around the bond. Removing you from her memory wouldn't give them a blank slate to work with. It would kill her. Then why? Because a Sileth that can't be reassigned has no value to the Coalition. And a Sileth bonded this deeply to a human is considered a liability. What happens if you die, Chen? What happens to her? I didn't have an answer. The termination order stands, Vasquez said quietly. I'm sorry. I've argued against it. But Command doesn't see her as a person. They see her as malfunctioning equipment. There has to be something. There's nothing. She stood, gathering her reports. You have 4 hours. I suggest you spend them saying goodbye. The guards let me into the medical bay without question. Whatever else was true, I was still Kira's assigned bondmate. I had the right to be present. She looked up as I entered, her patterns shifting through a complex sequence. Relief, sorrow, love, fear. Before settling into that warm, steady pulse I'd come to associate with her version of a smile. Marcus. She used my first name. She only did that when we were alone. I'm going to get you out of here. No. She shook her head, a human gesture she'd learned from me. You will destroy your career. Your freedom. Everything you've built since Helix 7. I don't care. I know. Her voice was soft. That's why I'm telling you no. I knelt beside the neural chair, taking her hand. Her skin was cool to the touch, smooth as polished stone, and her patterns flickered at the contact. They said your mind built itself around me. That's why the wipes failed. Yes, why? She was quiet for a long moment. Then, do you remember the night after the Korvax engagement, when you couldn't sleep, and you asked me about my homeworld? I remembered. We'd talked until dawn, her voice painting pictures of crystalline forests and moons that sang. It was the first time I'd seen her as something other than a function. You asked what my name meant. I told you it meant unexpected gift. Her patterns shifted to deep violet. I did not tell you the full truth. In my language, Kira means the gift that was not known to be needed until it arrived. Kira, I was bred to serve, to bond, to soothe, to be wiped and bonded again. I accepted this. It was my purpose. Her 4 eyes met mine, and I saw no fear in them now, only a certainty I didn't understand. But you were different. You did not want comfort. You wanted to suffer, because you believed you deserved it. And something in me, refused to let you. That's not. Every time the wipe engaged, she continued, my mind asked a question. It asked, is this memory essential? And every memory of you, every moment, every word, every night I spent watching you sleep and willing your nightmares away. My mind answered yes. Essential. Cannot be removed. The medics do not understand. They think it is a malfunction, but it is not. Her free hand rose to touch my face, cool fingers tracing the burn scars that ran from my temple to my jaw. It is a choice, she said. My mind chose you. Again and again and again. 17 times, my mind looked at everything I am and decided that you are the part that cannot be erased. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed around something vast and terrible and precious. So you see, Kira said softly, you cannot save me by destroying yourself. Because if you are destroyed, there is nothing of me left to save. I had 3 hours and 47 minutes. The first call I made was to Specialist Torres, our unit's tech expert, and the closest thing I had to a friend after Helix 7. She answered on the second ping, her face bleary with interrupted sleep. Chen? What the hell, I need a favor. A big one. Her expression sharpened as she read something in my face. This about your Sileth? They're going to terminate her in less than 4 hours. Torres was quiet for a moment. Then, what do you need? Access to the shuttle bay. Specifically, a maintenance shuttle with no tracking beacon. That's desertion, Chen. They'll court-martial you. Hell, they might execute you. I know. Another pause. The shuttle in Bay 7 has a faulty tracker. It's been on the repair manifest for 3 weeks. I can make sure it stays faulty for another few hours. Torres, don't thank me. Just don't get caught. The call ended. I stared at my datapad, calculating distances. The nearest neutral zone was the Kareth Expanse, 18 hours at standard cruise. If we could reach it before the Coalition figured out what happened. Sergeant Chen. I turned. Commander Reth stood in the corridor, his crystalline Vethkai body catching the light in fractured patterns. He was old for his species, nearly 3 centuries, and he commanded the Meridian for longer than I'd been alive. Commander, walk with me. It wasn't optional. I fell into step beside him, my mind racing through contingencies. Had Torres been caught already? Had someone reported my request? I reviewed the Sileth's file, Reth said as we walked. His translator rendered his voice as calm, measured. Fascinating case. The bond rejection rate alone would merit a scientific study if Command weren't so eager to eliminate the anomaly. With respect, Commander, I don't see her as an anomaly. No. You wouldn't. Reth stopped at a viewport, gazing out at the stars. Did you know that the Sileth were not always companions, Sergeant? Before the Coalition, they were warriors. Fierce ones. Their empathic abilities made them devastating in combat. They could sense enemy fear, anticipate attacks, coordinate without communication. I hadn't known that. I'd never thought to ask. The Coalition conquered them 4 centuries ago. Broke their warrior culture. Bred their aggression out over generations and replaced it with servility. Made them companions instead of threats. Reth's secondary eyes focused on me. The official history says they were elevated. Given purpose. The truth is that we caged their minds and taught them to enjoy the cage. Why are you telling me this? Because your Sileth's mind rejected 17 wipes. Reth turned from the viewport. Because something in her looked at what she was bred to be and said no. Because I've lived long enough to recognize when I'm watching something important happen. He pressed something into my hand. A small data chip. Day 7. The security rotation changes in 40 minutes. You'll have a 12-minute window. I stared at him. Commander, I'm an old man, Sergeant. Old enough to remember what it means to have something worth defying orders for. His crystalline body shifted, catching light in what might have been a smile. Don't waste the time I'm giving you. 40 minutes later, I walked into the medical bay for the last time. I need to say goodbye, I told the guards. They exchanged glances but stepped aside. After all, what could a broken sergeant and a restrained Sileth possibly do? Kira's patterns flickered as I approached. Confusion, hope, fear. Marcus, what are you? I bent close, my lips near the auditory membrane on the side of her head. We're leaving, right now. Don't react. Her patterns stilled. Then, so softly, that even I barely heard her. They'll hunt us. I know. You'll lose everything. I don't care. Marcus. Kira. I pulled back enough to meet her eyes. Your mind shows me. 17 times. Now I'm choosing you. Are you going to argue with me, or are you going to help me get you out of that chair? Her patterns shifted through a sequence I'd never seen before. Something new. Something that seemed to encompass both laughter and tears. The restraint release is on the left console, 3rd button from the top, I hit the button. The restraints hissed open. Kira stood on unsteady legs, and I caught her as she swayed. Can you walk? I can do more than walk. Her patterns flared bright silver. I can feel every mind on this deck, Marcus. I can tell you where the guards are, what they're feeling when they're distracted. I may have been bred for service, but I was not bred stupid. For the first time in hours, I smiled. Then let's go. We made it to Base 7 without incident. Torres had come through. The shuttle's tracker was definitely faulty, because it wasn't registering our boarding. I strapped Kira into the co-pilot's seat and started the pre-flight sequence. 18 hours to the Kareth Expanse, I said. After that, we're in neutral territory. The Coalition won't risk an incident pursuing us there. And then? I don't know. The engines hum to life. We figure it out. Kira's hand found mine on the control panel. Her patterns were still that strange new color, silver and warm. I should tell you something, Marcus. Something I never said because I did not want to influence your decisions. What? The bond we share. The one my mind built. It is not one-directional. She watched me carefully, all four eyes searching my face. I did not simply choose to remember you. I chose to be changed by remembering you. My neural architecture didn't just reject the wipe. It incorporated parts of your consciousness into itself. I stared at her. What are you saying? I'm saying that when you dream, sometimes I dream with you. When you feel pain, I feel echoes of it. When you are happy, and you have been happy, Marcus, more often than you know, I feel that too. Her patterns pulsed steady and warm. I'm saying that my mind did not just build itself around your memories. It built itself around you. The boundary between us has been thinning for months now. The shuttle lifted off. Behind us, I heard the first alarms begin to sound. Is that supposed to scare me? I don't know. Does it? I thought about it. Thought about what it meant to have someone literally woven into my mind, sharing my thoughts, my dreams, my trauma. Thought about the violation of it, the loss of privacy, the fundamental strangeness. Then I thought about waking up screaming and finding her there, her presence a calm center in the chaos of my mind. Thought about the way she knew what I needed before I knew myself. Thought about the fact that her mind had looked at me, broken, angry, scarred, and decided that I was worth restructuring itself around. No, I said. It doesn't scare me. The bond will continue to deepen. If we stay together, eventually. Eventually what? Eventually we may not be able to distinguish where I end and you begin. The shuttle cleared the bay doors. Stars stretched before us, infinite and cold and full of possibility. Good, I said, and meant it. 3 days into our flight, the Coalition caught up with us. We'd made it to the Kareth Expanse, found a small outpost station that didn't ask too many questions, and were negotiating for fuel when the proximity alarms screamed. 2 Coalition pursuit ships dropped out of hyperspace, weapons hot, flanking our position. Human vessel. Crackled through the comm. You are harboring stolen Coalition property. Power down your engines, and prepare to be boarded. Kira's patterns had gone pale silver, almost white. Marcus, I know. I won't let them take me back. I won't let them make me forget you. That's not going to happen. If it comes to it, she said quietly, I can end this myself. Before they wipe me, I can, Kira. I grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to meet my eyes. Listen to me. You are not dying. You are not being wiped. And you are definitely not ending anything yourself. Do you understand me? Marcus, be realistic. I'm being realistic. I've been in worse situations than this. I smiled, though there wasn't much humor in it. Helix 7, remember? Lost my entire squad, half my body burned, enemy everywhere. And I survived. That was different. Yeah, I was. I didn't have anyone to survive for back then. I released her shoulders, turning back to the console. Now I do. The pursuit ships were closing. I ran the calculations. Our shuttle was faster, but their weapons' range was longer. If they got a clean lock, we were done. The outpost, Kira said suddenly. Her patterns had shifted from pale silver to something more complex, more determined. I can feel them. The people there. There's fear, confusion, but also something else. Resentment, doubt, anger. Towards us, towards the coalition. She closed her eyes, her patterns pulsing in a rhythm I'd never seen before. Marcus, I can do something. Something I was never supposed to do. Something my species hasn't done since before we were conquered. What? I can share what I feel. Not just receive emotions, project them. Make others feel what I want them to feel. Her eyes opened, and there was something ancient in them, something fierce. The coalition bred it out of us, they thought. But it's still there. Buried. Sleeping. What are you saying? I'm saying I can make that outpost very, very angry at those pursuit ships. Before I could respond, she reached out. Not physically, but something else. Something I felt as a pressure in my mind. A warmth. Spreading through our bond. And then, through her, I sensed it. The outpost. Dozens of minds, suddenly focused, suddenly furious. Suddenly aware that the coalition was threatening one of their own. The outpost's defense systems powered up. What the hell? The coalition comm officer sounded confused. Outpost Terra 7, stand down. This is coalition business. This is independent territory. A new voice, gravelly and hard. You fire on that shuttle, you fire on us. We are not firing on. You're threatening a vessel that's under our protection. Same thing. Kira's patterns were flickering rapidly now, her breathing shallow. I could feel the strain through our bond. Maintaining that emotional projection was costing her. Hold on, I told her. Just a little longer. Coalition vessels, this is Kareth 7 Defense Control. You have 30 seconds to withdraw to the edge of our sensor range, or we will open fire. A long pause. Then, this isn't over. We'll be back. The pursuit ships withdrew. Kira collapsed against me, her patterns fading to a dim, exhausted glow. I caught her, held her, felt her heart racing against my chest. You did it, I said. We did it. She looked up at me, and there was something different in her eyes now. A confidence that hadn't been there before. I remembered what I was. Before the coalition made us forget. We were not just empaths, Marcus. We were warriors. Protectors. We could make armies feel courage, or enemies feel despair. Why didn't you ever? Because I didn't know I could. The knowledge was buried so deep, passed down in ways the coalition couldn't erase. She touched her head, but the bond woke it up. You woke it up. Your mind, your memories of combat, your refusal to surrender. It activated something in me that had been sleeping for generations. I thought about what Commander Reth had said, about the Sileth being conquered, broken, bred into servility. And I thought about Kira's mind, rejecting the wipe 17 times, refusing to forget, refusing to be what they'd made her. They're going to come back, I said. Yes. And they're going to keep coming until they get us. Yes. Then we need to find somewhere they can't follow. Somewhere beyond coalition reach. Kira was quiet for a moment. Then, there is a place. The Sileth homeworld. My people's original home, before the conquest. The coalition abandoned it centuries ago, too far from their territory, too difficult to defend. But my ancestors left something there. Something hidden. What? I don't know exactly. The memories are fragments, passed down through generations of bonded minds. But I know it's important. And I know the coalition fears it. The outpost commander's face appeared on our comm screen. A scarred Kareth with one cybernetic eye. You folks caused quite a stir. Coalition's not happy with us. I'm sorry for the trouble. Don't be. Anything that pisses off the coalition is worth a little trouble. He grinned, showing filed teeth. Where you headed? I looked at Kira. She nodded. The Sileth homeworld, I said. The old one, before the coalition. The commander whistled. That's deep space. Uncharted territory. No support, no backup. I know. You'll need supplies. Weapons. Maybe some help. He scratched his chin. I know some people who might be interested in an expedition like that. People who don't like the coalition much. People who remember what the Sileth used to be. Kira's patterns flickered with surprise. You know our history, darling. Everyone on this side of the expanse knows your history. The Sileth warrior poets, they called you. Fierce as hell and wise as the old stars. The Coalition did their best to erase all that, but stories survive. He leaned forward. You bring that back, whatever you find on that homeworld, and you might just start something the Coalition can't stop. I thought about it. Thought about running, hiding, spending the rest of my life as a fugitive. And then I thought about what Kira had done. The power she'd discovered. The heritage that had been stolen from her people. How long to gather your people? I asked. Give me 3 days. We'll be here. That night, in the small quarters the outpost had provided, Kira told me more about the fragments she carried. It's like a dream within a dream, she said. Memories of memories. My ancestors passed them down through bonds like ours, mind to mind, generation to generation. The Coalition couldn't erase them because they didn't know they existed. What did they show you? A place. A structure. Something my people built before we were conquered. Her patterns shifted to deep blue, contemplative. It was meant to be a safeguard. A way to restore what we were, if we ever had the chance to break free. And you think this is that chance? She looked at me, all 4 eyes searching my face. I think you are that chance. A human who refused to let me be wiped. A bond that shouldn't exist, according to everything the Coalition taught us. You broke their rules, Marcus. You broke my conditioning. And now, she trailed off, her patterns flickering. Now what? Now I want to break everything they built. Her voice was quiet, but there was steel in it. I want my people to remember what we were. I want the Coalition to fear us again. Not because I want revenge, though I do, but because we deserve to be more than what they made us. I took her hand. Then that's what we'll do. It won't be easy. The journey alone will take weeks. And when we get there, we don't know what we'll find. It could be nothing. It could be a trap. Could be. But I've followed worse odds. You've also almost died following those odds. Almost only counts in plasma grenades. I smiled at her confusion. Human expression. Point is, I'm still here. And so are you. And as long as that's true, I'll take whatever odds we can get. Kira was quiet for a long moment. Then she leaned forward and pressed her forehead to mine. A Sileth gesture of deep intimacy, I'd learned. Her patterns wrapped around us both, warm and silver, and full of something I could only call hope. Thank you, she said. For what? For seeing me. Not as a companion, not as a function, not as property. As a person. You made that easy. No, daughter. She pulled back, meeting my eyes. I made it difficult. I pushed you away, maintained distance, followed my conditioning. You're the one who refused to accept it. You're the one who kept treating me like I mattered, even when I was trained to believe I didn't. Kira, let me finish. Her patterns pulsed bright, the bond my mind built around you. It didn't happen because I was broken. It happened because you gave me something worth holding on to. Something worth dying for. Something worth living for. She touched my face, tracing the scars again. You saved me, Marcus. Long before you broke me out of that medical bay. You saved me just by being kind. I didn't have words. So, I did something I'd never done in 18 months of knowing her. I pulled her close and held her. Not as a companion, not as a function, but as the person she'd always been and I'd been too blind to see. Her patterns wrapped around us both, silver and warm. And in the quiet of that small room, on the edge of the unknown, we both finally allowed ourselves to hope. The journey to the Sileth homeworld took 3 weeks. Our small fleet, the stolen shuttle, 3 Kareth raiders, and an old Vethkai cargo ship that had joined us at the second outpost, pushed through uncharted space, following coordinates that existed only in Kira's inherited memories. The Coalition sent pursuit parties twice, but the Kareth raiders were better armed than they looked, and Kira's newfound abilities scattered the enemy formations with waves of projected terror. We lost 1 raider in the second engagement, a crew of 4, all volunteers who'd known the risks. I held Kira as she wept for them, feeling her guilt through our bond, trying to absorb some of it into myself. They died for something, I told her. That matters, does it? Her patterns were dull, gray tinged with grief. They died because of me. Because I wanted to reclaim a heritage I barely remember. They died because the Coalition has been conquering and erasing people for centuries, and they wanted to stop it. You didn't force them to come. You gave them a reason. She was quiet for a long time after that. But she didn't collapse. She kept going, kept guiding us, kept projecting her presence across the fleet. A calm center that held us together through the darkness between stars. The Sileth homeworld had no name. Or rather, it had too many. The Coalition had erased the original, and the Sileth who remained had forgotten it. Kira called it simply home, spoken in a language she hadn't known she remembered until we entered orbit. There. She pointed at the main view screen, her patterns blazing silver. That mountain range. The structure is inside, hidden from orbital scans. My ancestors built it to survive anything. Invasion, bombardment, time itself. We landed in a valley filled with crystalline forest, the same ones she described to me in that long-ago conversation on the Gemmeridian. They sang as the wind passed through them, a haunting melody that resonated with something deep in Kira's patterns. I remember this, she whispered. Not me personally, but I remember. The Kareth commander, Voss, checked his weapons. The Coalition tracked us through hyperspace. They're maybe 12 hours behind. Whatever you're looking for, you better find it fast. I know where to go. Kira stepped forward, her patterns leading the way through the crystals. Follow me. The entrance to the structure was hidden behind a waterfall, just as her inherited memories had shown. Inside, the corridors were lined with luminescent minerals that responded to Kira's presence, glowing brighter as she passed. The walls were covered in ancient Sileth script, writing that told the story of a people who had seen the Coalition coming and prepared. They knew, Kira said, running her hand along the carvings. They knew they would lose the war. They knew they would be conquered, broken, bred into servility. So they left this place. A seed of what they were. Waiting for someone who could wake it up. Waiting for you. Waiting for someone like me. She stopped at a massive door, sealed with mechanisms that hadn't been touched in centuries. Someone whose bond was strong enough to resist the wipes. Someone whose mind had begun to remember what we truly were. Can you open it? Not alone. She turned to me, her patterns shifting to that new color. Silver and warm and fierce all at once. The door requires two minds working as one. The Sileth who built this knew that our greatest strength was our bonds. They designed the lock to only respond to a true partnership. Then, let's open it. She took my hands. Her patterns wrapped around my consciousness. And for a moment, I felt what she felt. Not just emotions, but memories, thoughts, the vast inherited archive of a conquered people yearning to be free. It was overwhelming and beautiful and terrible all at once. Togethering, she said, but not with words. Push together. I didn't know what I was doing, but I trusted her. I trusted our bond. I pushed. The door opened. Inside was a chamber filled with light. Not technological light, something older, something stranger. It emanated from hundreds of crystalline pods arranged in a spiral pattern, each one containing something. Energy? Data? Both? The sea archive, Kira breathed. Every memory of what the Sileth were before the conquest. Every technique, every ability, every piece of knowledge they tried to erase. It's all here. What do we do with it? We share it. She stepped into the center of the spiral, and the light intensified, responding to her presence. This chamber was designed to broadcast across the entire Sileth species. Every Sileth, everywhere, will feel this. Will remember this. The Coalition will know what's happening. Yes, and they'll try to stop it. But once the broadcast begins, it can't be undone. My people will remember. They'll start to wake up. Her patterns were blazing now, brighter than I'd ever seen. Marcus, this is what my mind was preparing for. Every time it rejected the wipe, it was building toward this moment. I didn't just save my memories of you. I saved my capacity to do this. The ground shook. Distant explosions echoed through the corridors. "That'll be the coalition," Voss's voice crackled through our comms. "They beat our estimate by 3 hours. We're holding them at the entrance, but we can't hold forever. How long do you need?" I asked Kira. "I don't know. The archive is vast. Transmitting all of it?" She calculated rapidly. 30 minutes. Maybe 20 if I push. You've got 10, maybe less. Her patterns flickered with something like fear, but beneath it, that fierce determination I'd come to love. "Then I need you to give me more time." "Kira? Not out there." She grabbed my hand. "Here. With me. With the bond we share. It's a two-way channel. You can feed me energy, strength, focus. Help me push faster. I don't know how. You don't need to know how. You just need to trust me." I looked at her, this small, fierce, impossible person who had built her mind around me, who had remembered when she was supposed to forget, who was about to change everything for her entire species. "I trust you," I said, and I opened myself completely to the bond. I can't describe what happened next. Not accurately. Human language wasn't built for it. I became part of Kira, and she became part of me. Our memories merged, our thoughts intertwined, and together we pushed through the archive, broadcasting centuries of suppressed knowledge to every Sileth in existence. I felt them waking up. Millions of minds, scattered across the galaxy, suddenly remembering what they were. Warriors, poets, protectors, not servants, not companions, people. The coalition forces pushed through our defenses. I felt that too, through the link. Voss going down, the Kareth fighting to the last, enemies pouring into the structure. But we kept broadcasting, kept pushing, kept refusing to stop. When the first coalition soldier burst into the chamber, I separated from Kira just long enough to shoot him. Then another. Then 3 more. I fought in the chamber while she broadcast, our minds still linked, her feeding me enemy positions, and I feeding her strength. 10 more seconds, she gasped. I killed another soldier. Took a plasma burn to my shoulder. Kept fighting. 5-5. The chamber door exploded. A full coalition squad poured through. I saw their weapons rise, saw the officer's mouth forming the order to fire. And then Kira finished. The light exploded outward. Not just from the chamber, from Kira herself, from every crystal in the structure, from the very stones of the mountain. It washed over the coalition soldiers, and I felt their minds flood with centuries of Sileth memory. They weren't Sileth. The broadcast wasn't meant for them. But the emotional resonance was overwhelming. The grief of conquest, the pain of erasure, the fierce joy of remembrance. Human and Vethkai and Kareth alike dropped their weapons, clutching their heads overcome. And across the galaxy, the Sileth woke up. The war lasted 3 more months. It was short, as wars go, because the Sileth didn't fight like soldiers anymore. They fought like what they'd always been. Empaths who could project emotion as easily as sense it. Coalition armies found themselves suddenly paralyzed by terror, or overwhelmed by despair, or moved to surrender by unexpected compassion. The coalition sued for peace. The terms were simple: Sileth freedom, full recognition as an independent species, and reparations that would take centuries to pay. Not everyone agreed. Not everyone accepted. But the war was over, and the Sileth were free. Kira and I watched the signing ceremony from the observation deck of the new Sileth embassy, a crystalline structure that sang when the wind passed through it, just like the forests of her homeworld. "Your people are calling you a hero," I said. "Our people," she corrected. "The bond we share, it's more than personal now. Through me, you're connected to every Sileth who remembers. You're part of our species' story. I'm not sure I deserve that. You don't get to decide that." Her patterns shifted to warm silver, that new color that had become her default over the past months. The color of hope, I'd realized. The color of our bond made visible. "You chose me, Marcus. When everything told you to let me go, you chose me. And that choice changed everything." I thought about the night she'd told me about the wipes. 17 times. Her mind had looked at our bond and declared it essential. Now I understood why. "Your mind didn't just build itself around me," I said slowly. It was preparing. For this, for everything. Yes. Though I didn't know it at the time. She leaned against me, her cool skin a comfort in the warm embassy air. My ancestors designed the seed archive to respond to a bond strong enough to remember through any obstacle. They believed that such a bond could only be formed with someone truly worthy. Someone whose presence would be worth restructuring a mind around. And they were right. They were. She looked up at me, all four eyes soft with an emotion I felt echoed in my own chest. I was ordered to forget you, Marcus. 17 times they tried to take you from me. And 17 times my mind said no. Not because you were useful, or convenient, or easy to remember. Because you were you. Because in all my existence, bred for service, trained for obedience, designed to be wiped and rebuilt, you were the first thing I ever chose for myself. I wrapped my arm around her, feeling our bond pulse warm between us. Through her, I could sense the distant minds of the Sileth, millions strong, remembering and healing and what they'd always been meant to be. What happens now? I asked. Now we build something new. Her patterns blazed silver, reflecting in the crystal walls around us. Not a coalition, not an empire, something better. A confederation of species who remember that bonds, real bonds, chosen bonds, are stronger than any force in the universe. That sounds ambitious. I had a good teacher. She smiled, a human expression she'd learned from me, one that looked strange and perfect on her alien features. A stubborn, broken, scarred soldier who refused to let me forget what it meant to be loved. I never said, you didn't have to. She pressed her forehead to mine, that gesture of deep intimacy that had come to mean more than words ever could. I felt it. I feel it now. The bond we share doesn't require declarations, Marcus. It just is. And it will be as long as we both exist. Through the crystal walls, the stars stretched infinite and full of possibility. Somewhere out there, the last coalition hardliners were accepting defeat. Somewhere out there, Sileth, who had lived their whole lives as servants, were remembering that they could be warriors, poets, protectors. And here, in this moment, I held the person my mind had chosen, the person who had chosen me, 17 times and counting, her neural architecture rebuilt around my presence like a fortress built around something precious. So, I said, partners? Her patterns blazed bright, warm, fierce, hopeful. Always, she said. And in the crystalline walls around us, her people's history began again, written not in conquest, but in bonds that even the coalition couldn't erase.